Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivara Dhare Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivara Dhare Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Acharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Acharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikha Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsimarani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 5, entitled, Canto 5, entitled The Creative Impetus, chapter 7, The Activities of King Bharat. Actually, yeah, we're in chapter 8, the character of Bharata Maharaja. Text 8. Tasyaha va anena kunaka uchar atismin krita nijabi manasyahara asa tat poshana palana lalana prina nanudya nenatma niyama saha yama purusha paricharyadaya ekakasha katipaye nahar ganena Vijamana Kila Sarva Evo Davasavan. So if everybody could please repeat. Tasya of that gate of that king. Ha va indeed. Aina kunake in the deer calf. Uchai greatly. Etasmin in this way. Excuse me, in this. Krita nija abhimanasya, who accepted the calf as his own son. Aha, every day. Tat poshana, maintaining that calf. Palena, protecting from dangers. Lalana, raising it or showing love to it by kissing and so on. Prinana, petting in love. Petting it in love. Anudaynena, by such attachment. Atmaniyamanaha, really. His prescribed activity, his personal activities for taking care of his body. Saha Yamaha, with his spiritual duties, such as non-violence, tolerance and simplicity. Purusha Paricharya Adayaha, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead and performing other duties. Ekashaha, every day. Katipayena, with only a few. Ahaganena, days of time. Viyujamanaha, being given up. Kila, indeed. Sarve, all. Eva, certainly. Udavasan, became destroyed. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Gradually, Maharaja Bharata became very affectionate toward the deer. He began to raise it and maintain it by giving it grass. He was always careful to protect it from the attacks of tigers and other animals. When it itched, he petted it, and in this way he always tried to keep it in a comfortable condition. He sometimes kissed it out of love. Being attached to raising the deer, Maharaja Bharata forgot the rules and regulations for the advancement of spiritual life, and gradually forgot to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After a few days, he forgot everything about his spiritual advancement. Purport. From this, we can understand how we have to be very cautious in executing our spiritual duties by observing the rules and regulations and regularly chanting the Hare Krsna maha-mantra. If we neglect doing this, we will eventually fall down. We must rise early in the morning, bathe, attend Mangalarti, worship the deities, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, study the Vedic literatures, and follow the rules prescribed by the acharyas and the spiritual master. If we deviate from this process, we may fall down, even though we may be very highly advanced. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.5, Yagyadana karma natyajam karyam eva tat yagyodanam tapaschaiva pava nani manishinam. Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up, but should be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great soul. Even if one is in the renounced order, he should never give up the regulative principles. He should worship the deity and give his time and life to the service of Krishna. he should also continue following the rules and regulations of austerity and penance. These things cannot be given up. One should not think oneself very advanced simply because one has accepted the sannyas order. The activities of Bharata Maharaja should be carefully studied for one's spiritual advancement. Om Gyanadivanandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Kam Karitivachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diditadanam Vancha Kapaduruvishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I read the translation again. Gradually, Maharaja Bharata became very affectionate toward the deer. He began to raise it and maintain it by giving it grass. He was always careful to protect it from the attacks of tigers and other animals. When it itched, he petted it. And in this way, he always tried to keep it in a comfortable condition. He sometimes kissed it out of love. Being attached to raising the deer, Maharaja Bharata forgot the rules and regulations for the advancement of spiritual life. And he gradually forgot to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After a few days, he forgot everything about his spiritual advancement. See that? Somebody who's coming in here? I think it's Mark. Yeah, be careful. So Maharaja Bharata, of course, looking back at the previous chapters, there it is. Hare Krishna. Looking back at the previous chapters, we have Lord Rishabhadev with his 100 sons, and then Maharaja Bharata was put in charge of as the king. And yeah, he lived his life, and then it was time for him to retire. So that's what he did. He didn't hesitate to retire. Good example. And now we're seeing he's in the forest, and Vijay Prabhu read those verses, right, yesterday, about how he managed to rescue this deer. And now, today, we're hearing how he forgot to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becoming very attached to this deer. Right, making sure the deer's comfortable, and he said sometimes he would, scratch the deer and kiss out of love, and then it says in Srila Prabhupada in the word by word says, accepted the calf as his own son. So yeah, this is you could say, human tendency to have some type of affection for somebody or something, whether it's an animal or human, or to have some type of affection. And but as this particular pastime is explaining, we have to be careful, because our attachment may degrade us. I mean, he was on the level of bhava, which is a very high level, not seen so much in this world. I mean, of course, it's possible, but it's a high level of Krishna consciousness. And although he was on such a high level, somehow or other, he deviated, and he ends up in an animal body as a deer, right? as we'll see. So what to speak of persons who are not on the Bhava platform? I mean, it's they have to be even more cautious and careful. And failing to do that, they may find themselves in very awkward situations. I don't know if they're going to find themselves in an animal body, maybe, but even if they were to go into an animal body, they wouldn't realize that. Because like Maharaja Bharata, he actually, as we'll see in the pastime, that he remembered it, and he starts to lament. Oh, what did I do, and why did I become so attached to this deer, and now I'm in the body of a deer, right? Can you imagine that? You remember you're in the body of a deer, and you think, okay, I'm going to stay away from all the other deer. That's what he did. Stay away from all bad association, right? And then he went to the ashram, and he was hearing the scriptures and trying to associate with the devotees. They're probably throwing him prasadam, and so yeah, we have to be careful, and just like now someone may say, well, I'm not going to become attached to a deer, right? Or anybody else says, I'm not going to become attached to a dog. I'm not really a dog person, or a cat person, or an animal person, right? I don't really. I mean, of course, because it's we're talking about deers, and of course, like I just mentioned dogs, and there was dogs mentioned yesterday, and probably in the next following classes, there are probably going to be some more mentions of dogs, but I would suspect. But I mean, within Vedic culture, there is room for for persons to have, you could say, pets or animals that they're taking care of. But anyways, we don't have to get into all that right now. But yeah, we have to be careful, and because it's the principle. It means, okay, I might not be attached to a dog or a deer or a cat or something, but okay, well, what else is there though? There's other things. There's many other things we become attached to. There's there's billions and billions of things we become attached to. Maya is very, there's a lot of seeming interesting varieties, right, in illusory energy. So, just like a sannyasi or just like a brahmachari, okay, they don't have a family per se, like a biological family that they're living with to get attached to, and also so on. But what about being attached to their own body? Right? The comforts of the body. It's actually very it's very difficult in material existence to get free from the desires of you could say pampering the body. So in other words, brahmacharis could be very attached to their bodies. Means feeding it nicely, bathing it nicely. Really, it's like what else? Sleeping, working out, whatever. There's so many ways, right, to get attached to our body. And that's a problem, because then we become bodily conscious, right? The bodily conception of life means that we think we're the body, a certain age, a certain race, whatever. Fat. Of course, that word is not very politically correct amongst American culture, but apparently in other cultures it's still accepted. We won't get into the details now, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm ugly. whatever, one may be a certain age, a certain height, a certain weight, right? And they think that, okay, that's me, right? And so devotees also have to be careful about that. Like overly obsessing about one's physical appearance. Practically I mean, of course, you should dress properly, and it's like, all right, Prabhu, I'm not thinking about my appearance, so whatever. We had a whole discussion about that some time ago, some classes ago, about public opinion, how we look, But yeah, there's a lot of different ways to become attached. And then we think we're the body because we ourselves are reinforcing that conception by buying into it. So the bodily concept of life, it means we think we're the body, and therefore we pay a lot of attention to it. But we also pay attention to others' bodies, right? This body, that body, so many different bodies, and we think they're the body. So yeah, this is you could say a danger in the renunciate's life, because they don't have biological family become attached to, and they don't have many possessions, right? But then what do they have? They have their body, right? So you have to be very careful. So not wanting to take on austerities, this is a symptomatic of being attached to the body. Not wanting to rise early, not wanting to push oneself in Krishna consciousness because it's uncomfortable. But a comfortable life or easygoing life and Krishna consciousness, they don't go well together. It's like water and oil; they just don't go together. So that's something to consider. So here, Srila Prabhupada, he says in the purport about chanting Hare Krishna, following the rules and regulations, rising early, bathing, attending Mangalarti, worshiping the deities. So these things are important. Srila Prabhupada stressed them. And people may find it difficult rising early, right? Going to sleep early. This is modern so-called culture, Rajasic. Rajasic means late night, right? What is all these? What's all the nightlife about? Nightlife means they get started at 10 p.m. They don't go to sleep at 10 p.m. They get started at 10 p.m. and they go till 4, 5, 6 in the morning. I was actually impressed. Across the street, I saw them at 5 o'clock in the morning, still up. It's pretty impressive. I don't remember ever doing that in my pre-temple days, but so nightlife, it's rajasic. It's actually unhealthy. It's going against nature. Yeah, tamasic, rajasic. It's going against nature. The sun's rising, setting. So to practice Krishna consciousness means to change, to reset the clock, right? Biological clock. To try to move towards going to sleep early. That Vijay Prabhu, good example. Go to sleep at 7 or something. I don't know anyone else who does that. So it's as far as possible. Now, of course, I know that there's a lot going on in the temple and evening programs and this and that, so many things. But as far as possible, means we shouldn't push it, unless we could handle it. I mean, some people could handle it, going to sleep late and waking up early, and it's not a problem. Like Srila Prabhupada said, some people are refreshed after 4 hours, after 5 hours, after 6 hours. It depends. So we have to be practical. And yeah, to reset the clock. So and people may think, oh, this is kind of like boot camp or something, right? It's like, I remember there was one devotee here, Krishna Kumar, Brahmachari, and his brother came to visit. We actually had a few devotees' brothers visit. Mukunda's brother, Charna Prabhu, his brother, came and visited. And then we had Hasagrami Prabhu, his brother, came and visited and stayed a few days. And then we had Krishna Kumar Prabhu, his brother, came and visited. So when his brother came and visited, Krishna Kumar, his brother, later on, Krishna Kumar told me, he said, oh, my brother's having a hard time. He says that this is worse than boot camp. He said it's worse than boot camp. He said he went through boot camp, this Krishna Kumar's brother. He said this is worse than boot camp. So yeah, it does seem austere. It does seem austere and difficult. But if one could learn how to just maybe struggle, maybe suffer in the beginning through it, beginning stages, then it becomes second nature, and it becomes very blissful, very happy. You're very happy to do it. It's not like you're suffering, like, oh man, I gotta get up again, and oh no, I have to bathe again. I don't want to bathe right now. That's the last thing I want to do, and I got to go downstairs and like be in the temple room for so many hours, and oh no, this is like. But it becomes great. It becomes nectar, actually. It becomes a source of inspiration, becomes a source of bliss for us. So we should try to work through it, and then, it'll work. So, although it's difficult, we have to train ourselves. Just like there was this devotee in Los Angeles, he was 80 something, and he wanted to move by the temple, in Los Angeles temple. So he was telling the son, please, help me move by the temple. So then he moved by the temple, and he used to get up very early in the morning, 2 or something like that. He was older, so he took some time to get ready and then walk across the street. And he said because he was training how to do it, he wasn't used to waking up so early. And he said he fell down. He fell down a few times walking across the street, and hurt him. So he's an elderly man. But then he just kept on doing it. And eventually he got used to it. Just like Srila Prabhupada said about conquering sleep, he said, oh, you got to practice. You have to practice. So that's important. By practice, we'll actually be able to learn how to function, right? Happily in an inspired way. So yeah, rising early, and then bathing. It's so important, actually. It can't be overemphasized. It is an integral part of real culture to bathe regularly. It says sannyasis should bathe 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening. Brahmacharis, householders maybe could do less, but it's not like we're clean. What do you call OCDing or something, right? We gotta be clean. Okay, wash your hands. Okay, wash your hands again. Okay, bathe. Now bathe again. It's not like we're got some kind of mental disorder, but it's actually an integral part of culture. So therefore, to cut corners, it's not good. It's really not good to cut corners in terms of bathing. It's just like, it's really bad. Especially because we're in the temple, we have to, keep it in mind. We're not like living in maybe some of us are living in an apartment, but especially those living in the temple or coming to the temple regularly, it can't cut corners. It's offensive, actually. And aside from it being offensive, it's just it really dumbs down our consciousness, and it also spoils the spiritually strong atmosphere. Like one should not enter the kitchen. Actually, the standard is one should only enter the kitchen upon bathing, right, and wearing fresh cloth. Fresh cloth means cloth has to be changed every day. People say, oh, well, it's not dirty. Well, it is dirty. Cloth becomes immediately dirty in a subtle way. Maybe you could say it's not like you don't see any marks or something, but while eating, actually, the cloth becomes dirty. Just by wearing it, it becomes dirty. So, fresh cloth has to be worn every day. Means we have to wash our clothes regularly. Sweaters also. So the standard is one should not actually enter in the kitchen or the puja room or the temple room without bathing, because it's considered just to be muchi, dirty. What to speak of walking in? One should not touch the pots of the deities without bathing. One should not touch the deity plates without bathing. And especially if somebody knows, like if they're informed, if they're initiated, first initiated, second initiated, they're Brahmins, and they know and they do it, that's like really bad. Because it says that somebody who knows what's right and they do what's wrong, they actually have to suffer more. Just like we're going to hear in the hellish planets coming up. Brahmin who drinks alcohol, and we're going to hear what happens in the hellish planets. It's actually quite, So, because they know what should be done, and then they still don't do it. So they shouldn't step foot into the kitchen without bathing, or the pujari room, or the temple room. So, I'm sick of bathing. All right, well, move out then. Go get an apartment. Go live out on the streets. Just don't, go jump off Coronado Bridge. Sorry, but don't do that. But spiritually, it's like it's suicidal actually to do such things. To offend the deities, So what I'm comparing it to, it's better to better just not cut corners. Better just follow. It's not difficult. I mean, give me a break. I mean, it takes 5 minutes to take a shower. It takes 5 minutes. Just jump in there really quick. It's like, what's the big deal? And all this cutting corners, it just doesn't work, and it's not pleasing, and it's just suicidal. So, rising early, bathing, attending Mangalarti, worshipping the deities, chanting Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said that chanting Hare Krishna, specifically chanting 16 rounds at least, there's not like, okay, I chanted my 16 rounds, I can't chant anymore. We could chant more. Of course, there's other things to do, many services, this and that, but at least 16. Srila Prabhupada said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is the most important instruction of the spiritual master. Just like when we take initiation, we vow, okay, we won't do the 4, bad things. And we vow, okay, we'll chant 16 rounds a day. That's the only thing we vow practically that we're going to do. And of course, we're not going to do those other things, but So we see how it's important. There's no vow that, okay, you'll go on Harinam every day, or you'll go distribute books every day, or you'll do this or you'll do that every day. But it's a vow, you chant at least 16 rounds a day. So it's really important. And it might be difficult, right? The mind is, oh, I'm busy, I'm this, I'm that, I can't do it. But we can do it. It just has to take. We have to be determined. And if we're not determined, then we better associate with determined people to get determined. So this is the Yuga Dharma. It's the process for this age to chant Hare Krishna. At least 16 rounds. So yeah, it's an important thing to do. Because yagya dana tapa karma natyajam karyam evatat yagya danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam, that the great souls, they don't give these things up. It's not that, oh, I become a great devotee, I become a first initiate, second initiated, which initiation just means beginning. It's not that, oh, I got initiated and now I'm like, I'm a great devotee. Well, there's a lot of stages of bhakti to go through. But even if we go through all the stages of bhakti, even though we're on the level of bhava, on the level of prema, we don't give these things up. So, oh, I'm a great devotee, now I don't have to bathe. Now I don't have to chant my rounds. Now I could just do whatever I want. No, that's not the idea. Srila Prabhupada did all these things. So we have to engage in sacrifice. We have to give in charity, right? Penance. These things purify even the great souls. So, and he should also continue following the rules and regulations of austerity and penance. These things cannot be given up. One should not think oneself very advanced simply because one has accepted the sannyasa order. So one should not think, oh, I'm so advanced that now I'm initiated, or now I'm second initiated, or now I joined the temple, right? And now I could just give up the rules and regulations. Well, the proof that we're advanced, actually, is that we follow the rules and regulations. Not that we give them up. And if someone will say, oh, well, I'm not so advanced, I can't follow. Okay, well, maybe you should reconsider situating your body somewhere else if you can't follow, because it's not, the temple's it's a holy place. It's a place where people live that are serious about spiritual life, and that could these are basic things. I mean, even the four regulative principles. It's like these are basic, like base things that traditionally everybody in India would follow. There was like no question of it. And it's like, oh, such a big, or like rising early. It's like this is a basic principle. It's like, it's not like something, this is just a sattvic principle, actually, that helps in spiritual life. So, now of course, we may struggle sometimes, okay, that's understandable. We may have difficulties, that's understandable, but we should keep the principle in mind. What's the real principle? And ultimately, I think if we do try, everybody could follow. It's not so difficult. So yeah, the activities of Bhakti should be very carefully studied for one's spiritual advancement. So yeah, we just have to be careful and following the simple things, we get a wonderful result gradually, right? Love for Krishna. So that gradually manifests, which is anandam buddhivardhanam. It's an ocean of bliss, ocean of spiritual happiness. And we just dive in it, right? And we're swimming, floating, right, in this ocean of spiritual bliss, ananda. And yeah, it's like we read the other day, it cannot be described, right, the bliss. undescribable. And we'll end here, but I remember I was speaking with Rajendrananda Prabhu one time, and we were talking about Srila Prabhupada. And I forgot exactly what he was saying about Srila Prabhupada, but we were talking about, the greatness, of course, glorifying Srila Prabhupada, right? The greatness of Prabhupada. And then all of a sudden we're talking, and he puts his arm out like this, and he kind of like, I don't know if he looks at his arm and kind of goes like this, or if I just look, but all the hairs on his arm are standing up in ecstasy, talking about Prabhupada. So I was like, oh, wow. So it was nice, to see that he was feeling so much happiness talking about Srila Prabhupada. Like literally, the hairs on his arm were all standing up. So, okay. So we can come to the point of the hairs standing up and crying and shivering and all these ecstatic emotions. And even if one has not come to that point, still we could be very jolly, very happy, very peaceful, very joyful, right, in our practice of Krishna consciousness, just by following these simple things. They're not difficult. They're very simple. We don't have to make it, out to be like this big mountain to cross. They're very simple. They're very easy with the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the association of devotees. So, all right, does anybody have any comments or questions? And yes, Mr. Farooq-san. Actually, his middle name is Farooq. You know that? Yeah, it's Farooq. His father's name's Farooq. But
Thank you, Balaram Prabhu. I have a comment and a question. I guess I'll start with the comment. One thing I've noticed with actually getting up early and doing these practices and creating those austerities is actually doing the sacrifice beforehand. So, doing Prabhupada's diet of just eating fruit in the morning and then just a big lunch and then some milk at the end of the day really helped me wake up in the morning and feel energized throughout the whole day.
You're saying you rearranging the schedule of when you take prasad helps.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Greatly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on top of that, sleeping a certain amount of time is actually, we go through REM cycles, 90 minutes every day, every night. So every 90 minutes we go through a certain point where we wake up and then we go back to sleep. And so if we can hit those REM cycles, we sleep actually way better throughout the day. So if we sleep 6 hours versus 6 hours and 30 minutes, it makes a big difference. But then my question to you is actually,
what's the difference between 6 and 6? And
well,
30
okay,
is it better to sleep 6 hours and 30 minutes?
No, so it's better to sleep 6 hours versus 6 hours and 30 minutes.
Oh, really?
Because when you go through these REM cycles, right, you start to go more into the deeper state of sleep. So if you try to wake up from the deeper state of sleep, you use more energy, and that's why you feel rocked when we wake up.
Mm.
And this is why we gotta, have a certain time that we wake up every morning. At the same time, we go to sleep. So
Yeah. Yeah, we get into the habit, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but that was just a side note. But I also had a question about just being clean. So you said that eating is one of the ways that are clothes dirty as well.
Yeah,
I also
it's a subtle.
wool.
Of course, it could be, we're spilling sabji, spilling sabji on our kurta and, stuff like that, but...
Yeah, but wool, I've heard it doesn't become contaminated, at least.
Yeah, that's...
So, this wool chadar, if I'm, eating with it, is that okay? Do I have to clean it after?
There was one brahmachari here, but he used to have it's like a bib when he would take prasad, It was pretty much like a chadar, and he would tie it, kind of like a sannyasi, and then he would take prasad. And then, the prasad would sometimes fall here, and sometimes he wouldn't wash it for a while, anyways. But later on he reflected, oh, I can't believe I did that, But, even if you say it doesn't become dirty or contaminated or something, if you spill, you're drinking some, you're drinking some grape juice or something and you spill it on your chadar, or if you, I don't know, something, if it stains the chadar, then, it should be washed. But yeah, there's an idea that, okay, you put it out in the sun and, the sun purifies it, right? You have something about that, Ramapati? About wool chadars and... Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to clean the clothes regularly, yeah, it's important. So... Because it affects the consciousness. That's the thing. It's all about consciousness, right? Krishna consciousness. So whatever we do affects our consciousness. So bathing, it also cleanses the subtle body, actually, cold water. But bathing cleanses the subtle body. And, having clean clothes, it all really affects our consciousness. So in other words, it makes it easier for us to be Krishna conscious. If we're clean, our clothes, our body, everything. If it's clean, then it's easier to be Krishna conscious. So that's why there's a stress there, or else it's all about being Krishna conscious. It's not like it's the International Society for Rules and Regulations, right? ISKCON is not the International Society for Rules and Regulations, of course. People think there's a lot of rules and regulations. Srila Prabhupada said one time about deity worship, he said, "Oh, if I told you all the rules, you'd faint, all the different rules." So we don't want devotees to feel like overburdened and overwhelmed and, oh man, I'm just sick of rules and regulations. Let me just jet off into God knows where land, But the rules and regulations are just there to help us be happy, actually. Krishna consciousness means happiness. It's not the exact definition, obviously, but Krishna conscious means to be conscious of Krishna, to love Krishna, to serve Krishna, right? But symptomatic of being Krishna conscious is that we're joyful. So that happens by following these rules and regulations. It helps us be Krishna conscious. And ultimately they're pleasing to Krishna. Krishna likes all these things. So we're dealing with the supreme pure. So we have to ourselves be pure. Or else how can we approach? How can we approach the pure if we're not pure? If we have to be pure. Okay, Mr. Amogalila Prabhu.
On the topic of wool chadars not becoming contaminated, I also had this question a long time ago. And we were talking about it at breakfast, and I guess Ramapati was there. Ramapati's conclusion, and which I, of course, accept, and it was that the wool itself doesn't get contaminated, but the spot, if something drops in it, like the spot where it is, that becomes contaminated. So you have to wash it, but the wool itself doesn't become contaminated, the material. But if you get stuff on it, that spot becomes moochie because there's particles of whatever moochie thing you dropped on there in there.
Yeah.
So that was the answer to my question when I had that question. Thanks.
Okay. Yes. So.
Hare Krishna, Balaram. I had a quick question about the bathing. I know you touched on this topic before, but it was just, what is the ideal frame of bathing time? Like you said, 5 minutes. Is bathing a luxury, and it should just be or just the must, and just in and out kind of thing?
Well, I mean, there's a bird bath, which somebody just we had one brahmachari here. I don't know what, I mean, in some ways, better to take a long one than a short one. Because we had this brahmachari here. It was just, I don't know what, sometimes we just make things so difficult, like bathing. It's just a simple thing. It's give me a break, But we had this brahmachari here years ago, and devotees were complaining that he wasn't bathing, like practically at all, regularly. And he said, yeah, I bathe, and he like hopped in there for just like I don't know, 30 seconds or something. I don't even know if the water fully, doused his body. And then there's some ideas that, people think like soap is Maya or something. And we've had brahmacharis like that. So, the soap is Maya. It's like, better not use soap. We'll save money. Save money not using soap. And it's like illusion to use soap. But Manu Samhita says, if you want to talk about Vedic and Maya and all that, Manu Samhita says, Srila Prabhupada quote Manu Samhita in his Bhagavad Gita and other places, but it describes all this, bathing, this and that. But it also says mud, like use of mud to cleanse the body, which is like a soap, a modern soap. So it's not, soap is good. Srila Prabhupada used soap. Prabhupada used that, what was it, Chandrika, that Mysore. No, sometimes he would use Mysore and sometimes he would use Chandrika, sandalwood. So yeah, soap is good. And then bird bath, it's like, to get clean, it's, it takes a little time to get clean. We did mention this some classes ago about, warm shower and a cold shower, this, that. Yeah, we had another brahmachari here. He'd take these really long showers, warm, long, hot, long showers. And personally, I'm not going to be, I don't feel comfortable myself, like policing people. Hey, Prabhu, it's been like, 12 minutes and you're still in the shower, like. So I'm not going to do that. And but the principle is whether it's, they're Superman and they could take a shower in, 2 minutes and manage to actually get clean, or whether they take longer. It's like, okay, whatever. That's their thing. There is a principle of saving water. So some people, anyways, getting all the details, but whatever. Just, turning the shower off and turning the shower back on, stuff like that. But whatever. So anyways, that's something. Okay, yes.
Hare Krishna?
Yes.
May I?
Yes, you can. Hare Krishna.
Balaram Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. May I?
Yes. Yes, you can, yeah. Are you there still? Because I can't hear you.
Yeah, I cannot also hear him also. Vijay Prabhu, are you here? I think he has some technical difficulty.
Okay, well, let's take Dimitri's question, and then... Okay, Dimitri.
I just wanted to say something, like a small comment. Vijay actually told me I was taking long hot showers myself, and he told me that it's not good because the water, when you pores are open, you can absorb a lot of chemicals from the water like that. So it's best to take not so long of a shower. And I've also heard in class that
Sorry, Prabhu, I think Vijay Prabhu internet connection is very bad right now. So I'll mute him till it's become better.
As a brahmachari, you take like those the one really thorough shower a week, but other times like you whole body scrapping body, that's what I've heard in class. But you always use
whose
soap.
Class?
Chaitanya Chandra.
Oh, okay.
He said that. But yeah, you always use soap. You just don't spend
Krishna?
so much time bathing every day. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't use the scrapper for the body.
Yeah.
You just use the soap.
Yeah. Oh, so he's talking about like
Like scrapping the whole
Yeah.
body, going like really.
Okay. All right. Yeah, all right. Well, okay. Okay, so is it working now, Vijay Krishna, or he's
Give me a second. Let me check with me.
yeah.
Tapas Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Please go ahead with your question.
Oh, Balaram Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, may I?
Yes.
I'm sorry about this technical problem. Prabhu, the quote from the purport is, quote, one should not think oneself very advanced simply because one has accepted the sannyasa order, end quote. So, Prabhu, you know better than me that there are two types of sannyasis. The sannyasi who is not there being yet a pure devotee, and a sannyasi like Srila Prabhupada, who was a pure devotee. So my question is, in relation to behavior related to avoiding to fall down, what is the difference between these two types of sannyasis?
Okay. Well, I mean, Srila Prabhupada, yeah, pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada was setting the example of a sannyasi. So he was setting the example how to. Srila Prabhupada was, very strict and very regulated and very, austere and traveling so much, and he was setting the example how to live. So Srila Prabhupada, although free, although a Paramahamsa, right, although a topmost pure devotee, still he was very cautious as a perfect sannyasi, and also he was in a prayerful mood. On a number of occasions, Srila Prabhupada would told the devotees that I pray every night that I don't fall into Maya. He said, I pray every day, to Krishna, please protect me, to Srimati Radharani, please protect me. So, so you could say that externally, the amount of caution that they take may be similar or the same, but in the case of somebody who's not a pure devotee, since sannyasa ashram, they actually have more danger. And maybe you could say that, or not maybe, but could say they have to be extra cautious. So, anyways, I hope that kind of. Are you there? Okay, we can't hear you. Anyways, I hope that kind of answers the.
Hare Krishna?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Wonderful answer to my question. I liked it when you said that the sannyasi who is not a pure devotee, he needs to be extra careful because the danger is still there. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Hare Krishna. Of course, Srila Prabhupada would sometimes do things like one time he wanted some sweets, and there's some sannyasis there, and they're very like austere, and we don't want any sweets. But then Prabhupada said, "Oh, bring some sweets," and there was no sweets. So then Srila Prabhupada, he said, "All right, well, bring some puris, and bring a bowl of sugar." So then Prabhupada was dipping the puris in the bowl of sugar, and he was chewing, and talking to the sannyasis and smiling. So, anyways, okay, you have some last thing, Tyler?
Briefly, thank you for a wonderful class, Balaram. I thought it was really ideal how you framed the reason we follow these rules and regulations is so we can experience higher bliss.
Yeah.
That's important to keep in focus, is to protect us so that we can advance in our consciousness. That's a good motivation to follow, not just follow or else. Follow because it is for everyone's benefit, and that's how we advance. We're talking about the body and being clean and different parts of the temple to go in and out of, and especially why it's important to be clean then. So what about the feet? Because inevitably their feet do get dirty, where the rest of our body we can sort of control. So how important is clean feet in particular?
I mean, the whole body should be clean, but, you know, in traditional temples, they would have spigots outside of the temple to clean the feet because everybody's walking barefoot. That was a traditional thing, and sannyasis and other people walk barefoot. So we don't have that system to wash the feet outside. Maybe we should get one, but yeah. Yeah. So,
there's a science behind it, is why I'm saying.
yeah.
Otherwise, we go mad because we're not grounded.
Yeah.
I don't know much about technology, just been overseeing it for a while.
Yeah. But yeah, going into the temple room or going into the ashram or one's rooms or the kitchen or this and that, yeah, the feet should be clean. So, all right, for all of their details, because we kind of got a lot of the kind of details about this and that. For all their details, you could tune into your next Vaishnava etiquette class. So, Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.